I meant to get this out yesterday, but there does happen to be like this new big release that came out this week that's kind of distracting people. Have you heard of it? Well, hey, let's talk about this week. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update. We are closing in on Thanksgiving here in the States, and there's lots and lots of good things going on right now. Lots of big popular book releases that have just come down the pipe, and I read one of them. I'm reading a second one. Third one I'll get to later, and we'll talk about that later in the year. But guys, let's do as we always do. Let's get into things by talking about what am I reading. I finished the last book in the Greatcoat series by Sebastian Iguodala. This is Tyrant's Throne, wrapping up the first real read-along that we've had on this channel. And I think it went over pretty well. Didn't have any real hiccups in the scheduling or anything like that. Sure, we lost some people along the way, as you always will when you do a read-along that's longer than a book. You're always going to have some drop-off. It's expected, but it seems like more people than not enjoyed the journey. They had a good time with it. Myself, I'll be doing my review for it here at the end of the month, as I have been. But overall, I really did enjoy the series. I very much look forward to him continuing this world, starting with Play of Shadows sometime next year. But I've noticed a lot of fantasy authors seem to be doing that now. They do their regular series and then they pick it up at the same universe at some time later. John Gwynn's done this. Brandon Sanderson's done this. Not that it's reinventing the wheel. I just think it's a really nice, neat new wrinkle. First Law is obviously one of the ones I really enjoy that is doing that. But it's a series I definitely recommend you check out if you haven't. It's a good time. Really is very Three Musketeers-ish. Meets a little bit of more darkness than Mr. Alexander Dumas did when he first wrote that series. But very, very clear to see that influence there. And just a good swashbuckling, good time. And I'll talk about that when I get to that review here at the end of the month. Now, obviously, the big daddy that most of us on this channel working on right now, that is, of course, Rhythm of War. It's kind of hard to hold this book with one hand without it falling down. I'm about closing in on halfway done here. You guys can see that? Check out this bookmark that they gave. I got this from an independent bookstore. But yeah, it's got Shadesmar on it. It says epic book. It requires an epic bookmark. Very cool. Very cool. So like I keep saying, guys, support your independent bookstores. But really cool stuff. Signing. Got to watch a nice little virtual signing with Brandon Sanderson, which is actually the first time I've actually watched one of his things, and he wasn't signing stuff the whole time. So really, it was just a conversation. The biggest detail that came out of here is that Mistborn apparently is going to be 13 books. Yeah, so really fun just hearing the guy actually talk. He's a very entertaining fellow. I've seen a lot of things where you see an author have a Q&A or just kind of an hour to just talk, and they could tell that they don't want to be there. Brandon Sanderson very much wanted to be there, and it was a good time. But that's pretty much going to wrap up what I'm reading for the rest of this month. I've already had a lot of people ask me, hey, when are you going to finish? I mean, I don't know. I read all of the part 1 on the preview chapters on tour. This week I've read all of part 2. And really, next week, guys, if you're in the States, if you're outside the States, we have this thing in the States called Thanksgiving, and kids get out of school for the week. And my wife is also a school teacher, so she is off for the week. So my family is going to be home next week, and they love to plan stuff for me to do with them. I know, just so selfish, right? And let's just say that doesn't include reading. So I have no idea. With this, it's always just kind of a play it by ear thing. Ideally, I'd like to be done with it before the calendar rolls around to December. We shall see. But it's not for the book not being great. And look, guys, I want to take my time with it. We only get one of these Stormlight books every 3 years. So I'd like to kind of take my time with it and digest it slowly. I know there's people on the Discord that are finished with it already, and you guys are crazy. Not audiobooking it, so it's going to take a little bit. And I'm fine with that. So to me, it's not a race. I like to enjoy things like this. And for me, it's good practice for Malazan, which I'll talk about in a second here. Next year, taking my time and really just letting this kind of soak in at a natural pace. Let's go ahead and talk about what am I going to read. Well, I mean, Rhythm of War, duh, right? That's going to be it probably at least for the rest of November. Don't imagine I'm going to be knocking down 150, 200 pages a day here over the next week, but we'll see. After that, I plan on getting back into Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. That's kind of going to be my palate cleanser, my detox from something as heavy as Stormlight Archive. I've had a lot of people tell me it's quite easy. I got a little confession to make, guys. I had a 1-day break between when I finished Tyrant's Throne and before I got my hands on Rhythm of War. So I just kind of, I'll just read the first chapter of King's Well. I really like the first 5 chapters, but I'll get back to it after that. But yeah, it's a very light read. I like the way that it started off quite a bit. Excited about it. There's not enough of those old man past his prime kind of fantasy stories out there, at least that I have read. And very interesting way that it is set up. And I like the writing style. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a really smooth read. And then after that, I will be moving on to the last Into the Multiverse of the year for December. That is The Talisman by Stephen King. A lot of the things you'll see on Into the Multiverse, I will be doing a reread because I haven't read them since I was a teenager. Well, The Talisman, much like Eyes of the Dragon, is one that I have never read before. So this is going to be a little something special because I just never read it, and I've heard it's a 800-page coming-of-age story, and you guys know how I feel about Stephen King's coming-of-age story. So that should take care of me up until around Christmas or so, guys. So that is really what I'm going to be reading. Let's go ahead and talk about some stuff that happened this week on the channel, continuing with the Rhythm of War coverage. I did put out my spoiler talk for part 1 of the book. And again, I know that happened on release day, so not a lot of people had got caught up there. People are starting to get onto it now. I plan on doing my my parts 2 and 3 probably next week. Again, just depends on how fast I read it, but that part is up if you want to get into it. I do all of part 1 and the interludes that follow. That's kind of the formula. I'm going to follow the rest of the way, but all the people, I hope you were serious when you said you wanted more spoiler talk for Stormlight Archive, because just for part 1, that video was longer than every one of the spoiler talks for each individual book as a whole that I did before that. So if it's too much, it's too much. Just let me know. Like I said, I appreciate feedback on these things, but good conversations going on there. Plenty of things that I missed, which people have no problems telling me that I missed, and I love that about you guys. I do appreciate that. I'm not going to catch everything on the first read. Like, there's already people pointing out some stuff that happened in Dawn Shard that I didn't catch, and that's really, really cool. So say one thing for Brandon Sanderson fans, say that they keep you on your toes, and I do appreciate that. Speaking of the multiverse, again, I did my review for The Eyes of the Dragon. Now, this is one that's actually kind of surprised me, the feedback I got. Like, look, I know Stephen King fantasy-based stuff gets a lot more traction on this channel than just his standard horror stuff. I've always had Eyes of the Dragon be one that constant readers have told me is one of their least favorite Stephen King books. So I was not only amazed by the feedback in there about how many people love that book, but how many people started Stephen King like that. Like I recommended in that video, that if you have a younger reader in your house and you'd like to introduce them to Stephen King, it's a great launching point for a preteen reader. And seeing how many people in the comments have said, yes, this was my introduction to Stephen King. So very cool. Lots of good feedback. I was surprised at how many Dark Tower connections there really are in there, and lots of Dark Tower questions that still remain to be answered. And just a good time. But that and Talisman are back to back, ones that I've never read before. So it was a fun little fairy tale of a story. Like I said, it's nothing epic. Fantasy readers are going to be like, this is amazing. No, but if you can, just approach it as a story written for children, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a fun little book. But I did have a great time reading it, and I didn't expect to. And it's just kind of set up everything now for me to ready to get into The Talisman, because yes, while I was upset with King for a great many years, and still am in many regards, about how he did with the last couple Dark Tower books, getting back into some Stephen King fantasy that is not just Dark Tower based is still very compelling, because it's King, right? Let's talk about the big one. I did my why I decided to read for Malazan this week, and the feedback has exceeded what I expected. I knew that Malazan had a very loyal fan base, and the read-along that we're going to be doing for the channel has got a huge warband growing. Hundreds. I wish I had done like some kind of head count or a roll call or something like that, because I have no idea about that exact number. But just based off of people on the Discord, people on Twitter, people on Instagram that have all messaged me, Facebook, and have said, yes, I will be there. I might not be as vocal, on the read along, but I will be reading along with you. That's really awesome. Got lots of people jumping on board and talking about why I decided to read Malazan. Again, the conversation going on about that video is just exciting. It has caused a new explosion of users on the Discord. In case you guys don't know, you can hit the description below and get the link to join our Discord. the least toxic place on the internet, as I call it. I pretty much call it the coolest book club ever. That's how I refer to it as. I try not to blow my own horn here, but I'm very proud of that Discord and what it's become. And now getting all of these Malazan, not only noobs like myself, but a lot of Malazan veterans that want to come along on this and kind of be our guiding hand on this. I appreciate that, because we will definitely take some war-torn Malazan veterans and historians to kind of hold our hand through a lot of this stuff. So I'm glad that a lot of new people have jumped onto the Discord. But as for that video, the comments, I can't even keep up with them because there's so many. But it's so much passion and excitement for the series that it just makes me so excited, thinking that maybe this could be kind of like my Wheel of Time journey was, with how many people really interacted and were basically just cheerleading you along as you went through it, and just kind of giving good feedback, never spoiling anything. So it just, the feedback has been overwhelming, and I'm super excited to do it. We are just over a month away from starting this, and guys, it's not too late. Obviously, we haven't started yet, but you can get that first book and join us and see how you feel about it. But check that video out if you haven't, because I think it really gives the story that is a lot similar to a lot of other people. A lot of people seem to have had this series or had it on the radar for a long time, but I've always been kind of intimidated to take the plunge, and they're going to join along with us. So it's very exciting times. That's going to be like the staple of 2021 and leading into 2022 of Malazan. It's going to be it. That's going to be like the headliner for the channel, although there's going to be lots of other stuff, which we'll get into in December. We start doing some of our yearly wrap-up stuff. But that was this week on the channel. Let's talk about some stuff I got some planned for next week. Look, like I said, kids are going to be home. It's going to be kind of busy. I'm going to be trying to read Rhythm of War. I'd like to get out my spoiler talk for parts 2 and 3. I know part 2 will be coming for sure since I'm done with it. I should be starting part 3 sometime this evening, I would imagine. But if I try to get the spoiler talk out for that. I'm also going to make up for one of my missed Into the Multiverse days. Before Fright Fest, I just ran out of time. I did 4 videos. I was going to do 4 videos, 4 different seasons, 4 different stories in it. And I never got to the breathing method. So I'm going to make that up, and I'm going to do the breathing method sometime next week. It should be a short one. It's probably the shortest story in that book, but some good things to talk about in there. I could talk about a 15-page Stephen King story, and the video would be longer than the actual story is. So that's not really a problem. I'm going to be making that up. And if I have time, guys, I've got this idea to talk about Brent Weeks. And the reason is because not necessarily Night Angel as much as Lightbringer has come up on the Discord a lot lately. And people don't understand what could have possibly happened to take me from this is one of the best first 2 books in a fantasy series ever to I'm not even going to finish the series because book 4 broke it for me. People want to know this story. So thinking about talking about that, talking about Night Angel, talking about Brent Weeks, and kind of where he stands with me going forward. That's again, that's something if I have time. So don't be waiting for it. But if I have time this week sometime, I'll tell that story and talk about some of my issues with Brent Weeks and my concerns with him going forward. And that should wrap us up for all the book stuff on the channel. There are a few TV and movie talk things that were going on. I do want to talk about what my wife and I are watching right now. So a show that I really liked when we were dating was The Shield on FX. To me, this is the greatest cop show of all time. And I know whenever I say that, people are like, whoa, 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 what about The Wire? Now look, I appreciate The Wire for what it was. I think The Wire, I don't agree that you have to tear something down to build something up. So it's definitely not a thing about making it The Wire versus The Shield. Look, I appreciate The Wire for its realism, for its social commentary. It felt like the right time for a story like that. To me, someone who likes to separate their fiction from everything else, I really liked the storytelling on The Shield better. And that's why when this box set came out, gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was, I went ahead and picked it up because I said, that's something I definitely will want to rewatch someday. It's my favorite cop show ever, by far. And I said, I would definitely love to watch it. But when my wife and I were dating, it was like on season 6 or 7. It was wrapping up. I wasn't going to be like, hey, you want to watch this cop show with me? So she was always like, that can be like your thing. She loves detective shows like Criminal Minds and stuff like that. So I always thought maybe she'd like this, but I thought maybe it might be a little too visceral for her. But she brought it up the other day. She's like, I think I might be interested in watching The Shield. And I freaking darted upstairs and I grabbed this and I said, let's go. And we're about halfway through season 2 right now. They're short seasons, like 11, 13 episode seasons. So you can kind of fly through them. But I'm enjoying this rewatch very, very much. It has aged wonderfully. I mean, you might laugh when Vic busts out a flip phone, things like that, but to me, that always helps stuff age better when they don't have to feel like they've got, like, I went back and watched some 24 episodes, and they were trying to always keep up to date with the current technology, and sometimes I feel like that takes you out of it. To me, this is kind of like X-Files, where you'll laugh at some of the technology, but it makes sure that the writing was still strong, and I like that. But yeah, I think it's one of the greatest cop shows for several reasons. It seems like everything now uses the whole anti-hero, or just maybe even just like straight up making the bad guys the protagonists of their series. I felt like The Shield, and to a lesser extent Sons of Anarchy, was doing that way before it became like a super trend like it is now. I could be wrong on that. I know this has been a theme in many books I've read for a while, but on TV it didn't seem like anybody was, people were too scared to really make you feel like you're rooting for the bad guys. And I felt like The Shield definitely was one of those that kind of just, it broke the mold on that. And that's why it always resonated with me. This is when FX is a huge station now. They've had, at least a dozen original series that have been Emmy caliber, but The Shield was probably the first one that was like, wow, this is actually maybe the best show on TV right now. And it's aged just wonderfully. Michael Chiklis is still amazing. I was just stunned at how well the show has aged, and I can't recommend it enough. I know the whole series is on Hulu right now if you have Hulu. If not, get your hand on the DVDs, get your hand on the Blu-ray. For me, I was like, oh, well, it's not the Blu-ray. This is a DVD set. You think you're like above stuff like that. The way the show was shot, to kind of almost have like the handheld, grainy kind of look that Sean Ryan was going for, has made it aged even better. That's why the DVDs don't bother me. Plus, this collection is just amazing. So check that out if you haven't, guys. I can't say enough about that. One of my favorite shows of all time, and now I'm hoping I can get her to watch Sons of Anarchy after we finish this one, because that's another one where she was always like, nah, that could be your thing. That looks a little too dark for me. You guys remember about a month and a half ago when I just ranted for about 4 minutes about Warner Brothers and what they were doing with Wonder Woman 84. And what did I say on that? I said, hey, quit being idiots, because you're going to delay Dune. You got the most popular movie of 2020, and you're going to delay it almost a full year. And you're doing this because you're moving Wonder Woman till Christmas. And what I said was, guys, put it on HBO Max, put it out on video on demand, put it into theaters too for people who feel like they want to risk things. If they're scared to go out right now, I understand that. If they don't want to go to a theater, give them the option of watching it from home. It's not going to be a bad thing. Hey, guess what's happening on Christmas, guys? Wonder Woman 84 is going to be on HBO Max the same day it hits theaters. How about that? Look, I've railed on Warner Brothers enough times for you guys to know how I feel. I feel like that studio is run by clowns. They've been just a shit show since the 90s, and they just refuse to embrace the future. I feel like this is finally one of the old guard finally being like, you know what? I'm going to upgrade from my VHS to a TiVo. It feels like they finally are going to get it here. So while I still would much like to see Dune come and see it in the theater, and I will, like I said, I'll wear a freaking still suit to protect myself to go to the theater to watch Dune. I'm probably not going to do that for Wonder Woman, but we're going to watch it from home as a family. It's going to be great. I just hope that this finally is that can of worms where people are going to realize, look, we are in new times now. We need to embrace video on demand. You can't just blame piracy, because more people than not don't know how to do all that stuff. They're going to pay the extra money to see something on a streaming service. So, again, hope it's the way of the future. And I'm not trying to do a I was right thing. It's like Warner Brothers just is always 6 steps behind everyone else in all these kinds of decisions. So I'm glad to see that they're actually doing that. Sucks that Wonder Woman's not going to have the big theatrical release like it probably deserved. Wonder Woman was one of my favorite DC characters of all time. I feel like Patty Jenkins is one of the few who have actually made a really good DC expanded, whatever it's called, DCEU movie. I'm not crazy about what Zack Snyder did, but I'll talk about that here in a second. But again, as long as it's finally going to come out. I mean, this is over. I mean, how long were they going to just delay it a full year? I mean, Black Widow seems like they're going to do that. They're not putting that on Disney Plus, but it is what it is. Talk about Zack Snyder for a minute. They put out the second trailer for this Snyder Cut. Yeah, guys, look, it looks great on paper, I guess. To me, what I've always said is it just looks like more of what we got with the last movie. It just looks like it's actually going to be the story he wanted to put together. Seems like they're adding new things to it. Look, if you tell me Green Lantern's in it, then you can call me. Right now, it's just like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll watch it. I'm just not expecting the world like it seems like everyone else is. I expect to see another dark Zack Snyder movie. And I love 300. I think Watchmen, the director's cut, is a masterpiece. You won't hear me talk about Zack Snyder in a bad way as a filmmaker. I just didn't like his vision for DC on screen. So it's just my personal opinion. And I'm a huge DC guy, so you can't tell me that this is like some kind of Marvel shill or something. I think the MCU movies are a dime a dozen. You've seen one, you've seen them all, I feel like, because I feel like they're more formulaic than 80s Bond movies are at this point, where you can go to the bathroom and not worry about, hey, don't even bother telling me what happened, So it's nothing like that. It's because I'm such a huge DC Comics fan growing up, and even to this day, that I feel like I'm a little rougher on those. But we'll see there. I just want to kind of end this by saying I haven't watched it. Obviously, we're still a couple of seasons behind, but Supernatural had their final episode last night, and I just got to tip my hat to this little show that could. That no one would have ever expected that this show would have lasted 15 years. And I still think it was popular enough. It could have kept going. It probably could have went for 20. It's sure, is it as good as it was at the very beginning? Probably not. I mean, I could tell you that we're like on season 12 right now, and no, it's not what it used to be. It's still highly enjoyable though, and the two leads are just awesome, and I can't wait to see what I know that Jensen Ackles is going to be doing. The Boys season 3, and I believe Jared's going to be doing Walker Texas Ranger, a reboot. I don't know if that's true or if that's just like a funny thing. I have no idea if that's actually true, but it'll be weird seeing them on their new shows without being like, hey, where's Sam or where's Dean? So it's hard to think about the actors under their real names, not call them Sam and Dean Winchester. But I just got to tip my hat. That's an incredible achievement for any show to last that long, and it's just crazy to think. I had no kids. I wasn't even dating my wife yet when that show started, and I was watching it. So awesome time killing monsters with the Winchester brothers. Great time, and recommend the show if you haven't. A couple of gaming things. Well, actually, just one gaming thing. I don't have a ton of gaming talk. I don't want to talk about Cyberpunk again. Just real quick, I haven't played it. I've heard a lot about it. We bought that new fridge, and we got like this credit to Best Buy that was just burning a hole in our pockets, and it had to be used before December 1st. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and buy my kid a game for Christmas. And I started looking around. It was either going to be Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I think he's got 2 Pokemon games and he doesn't even play them, or Animal Crossing New Horizons. I don't know nothing about these games, guys. Nothing. But there's this website I go to called How Long to Beat. It'll tell you about how many hours of gameplay you can get into a game. HowLongToBeat.com, I believe. Really cool if you're deciding if it's something you want to invest money, because who wants to pay $60, $70 for games that are 5-6 hours long anymore? Well, something you feel like you get your money's worth out of. So I looked up Animal Crossing, and it was like 600 hours of gameplay. I was like, what in the world? So I don't know if this is like Minecraft-ish or what, but he's starting to get burned out on Minecraft a little bit, get burned out on Among Us. So I think that Animal Crossing was something I feel like maybe he'd be into. So that's what I picked up. So if you guys have any feedback on that, let me know. Don't know the first thing about it. I actually think my wife's going to end up probably playing it more than him. She started picking up Minecraft now, and she's got the Minecraft bug. But who knows? But any feedback on that, I would appreciate it, guys. But that was the week. Going to continue Rhythm of War here. I know that you guys probably are as well. So drop in the comments. Let me know how far along you are in there, and I will talk to you there. Have yourselves a great and wonderful weekend.